Hey guys, Jake with Iron Spear Outfitters. Today we're out in the great Northwest woods in Idaho, and just wanted to kind of go over some of the kit that we carry when we're out and about. A lot of the time, if we're out with family or we're out training or we're up in the mountains, there's a lot of different kit that we carry, and in that kit, radios are a big important thing. You have to have communication with the people in your group, people outside of your group, and just being able to relay information or find out information of things that are going on. So brought a fairly simple setup out here. Basically, I have my backcountry running rig, which is a cobbled together custom kit that I built from a Hill People gear pouch and a chest strap and a little small inexpensive pouch for the back. And then I have my family we're going to a gathering kind of city bag. We're not really out in the city, but sometimes we go in, got to make a Costco run or go into an event or something like that, and we want to have something with us. So I'm going to go over the running rig. That is one that I get a lot of questions about. Everybody likes Hill People gear, so I'll start with that one. I'll go over my radio setup that I have in there, kind of some of the pros and cons, and some of the LOT, the logical order of thought, of why I keep a radio the way I do in that bag. And then I'll go over my more urban cityite kind of setup for a radio bag. If we're going to go to an event, if I go with my wife and my family to an event, I want to have a couple of radios on me. One I can hand to them if there's an issue, one that I can keep on my person in case I need to separate from my family or the crew that we're with. So let's launch into it. Okay, so going over the Hill People bag, the front pouch, like I said, this is a backcountry running rig that I put together for myself. This isn't something that we make or anything, but it's a custom rig that I put together to provide to me what I need with a very small stay alive kit and some communications. We are up in the woods in North Idaho. Cell phone service is super spotty. Oftentimes we have no cell phone service at all. Our personal property, we have no cell service at all. So we rely on radios a fair amount. Hence the reason we have a radio type company for building antennas. So the front pouch is mainly just stay alive stuff. Super simple stuff to get to. A couple of spare mags, fire starting. I like these ExoTac lighter covers. These are super awesome for having a nice, easy, waterproof setup. I've got a couple of small tools in the pouch for my bike when I'm riding my mountain bike up in the backcountry or if I'm just running. Some Ear Pro. Usually have a ratcheting tourniquet on my person, and then I also keep one in my bag. And then a light. That's pretty much it. I've got a little bit of kinesio tape for taping up for blisters and stuff like that. And then that's pretty much it in the front pouch. Underneath, I have a J. Kobach Knives kunai that I keep in a discreet sheath in the MOLLE webbing underneath. It's a little bit more difficult to resheath it, but it's super fast and it's very discreet in there. So I hide that underneath in the MOLLE webbing, and it's a double-sided Velcro setup that they built specifically for, a hideaway type knife. Middle pouch, usually where I keep my phone. Earplugs, snivel kit, a little bit of Band-Aids, stuff like that. Some more kinesio tape for blisters, and then usually keep a pistola in the back pouch. So just inexpensive. I think this is probably some kind of airsoft pouch that I got somewhere along the line, but it worked well. I was able to cut the buckles off of this Hill People bag and attach my buckles to it, to a back panel. I just needed a MOLLE back panel. And this is where I keep my radio stuff, usually a small collapsible water bottle and a filtration system, and my radio and a big bandage. In case I fall off my bike and gash my leg open or something, I've got a North American Rescue bandage in here. This is just a big field dressing, the ETD. Super handy if you need to just get some compression on a big wound. So I highly recommend doing some kind of wound care and setup for emergencies so that I can make a radio call and have somebody come get me in case I break myself. I try not to break myself, but it happens. So the radio setup, super simple, inexpensive, cheap radios. Right now I got a Quansheng, I think this is a K6, a UV K6, the world's most hackable radio. Super cool, the stuff that you can do with this. I've got an SMA to BNC adapter built into it, and then a custom built Maximus antenna. I actually used some thinner wire to make this one like crazy bendy and flexible. This is suboptimal for getting really good signal, because you can see it's super bendy. But I know how to operate radio pretty well. I know how to make this work, and I like this because it can be crazy small, and that's what I'm after in a chest rig. For my running rig, I want everything super compact and light, so this is the lightest antenna that I've made, crazy light and super flexible. One thing that you'll see that I do is I keep my radio separated, antenna off, battery off. If you take your antenna off, always make sure that you pull your battery out, and make sure that your battery can't inadvertently reattach to the radio, because these things, they attach really easy. So what'll end up happening, and I've had this happen before, is you separate everything, you throw it in a pouch, and then you're jostling around, running around, bouncing through the woods, in your truck, whatever. Eventually, somehow, through magic, what'll end up happening is that battery will rattle around, and all of a sudden, like, it'll connect. Not in and of itself a huge deal, but if you connect this, you turn the radio on, and you end up sitting on the transmit button, you'll burn your radio up. So find a way to keep your battery separate. Usually what I do is I'll just clip the battery to the inside of this pouch, and then just keep the radio stuck to the side so they can't connect. So that's pretty much it for the running rig. It's a pretty secure setup. It works really well for me. I've made calls, out to about 20 miles in really bad canyons and stuff like that. So this setup works really well for not pushing a whole lot of power. Moving into more of the urban setup, this is just a Faru bag, nothing too spectacular. I've got some soft armor, usually have a hard armor plate in here when we're in town. And then the radio setup, I dumped most everything out of this pouch, out of this bag, just so that I could come out and kind of show the radio setup that I have. So I always keep 2 radios in the bag. Now you ask, like, well, you're one dude, why do you need 2 radios? So if I'm out with my family or my crew, chances are not everybody's carrying a radio. So if you're the radio nerd in your family or your crew, you're in charge of radios, so figure it out. 2 radios is super important, because I can go, okay, I have my radio set up the way I want it. I have a handout radio that I can give to my wife or one of the kids. If something happens, like, hey, I need you guys to go to the car and meet me around the backside of the building for some reason, medical emergency, what have you, I have to stay behind and help someone out. I want to be able to communicate with my family, and chances are, if you're at a large event, something happens, what's going to happen is your cell phone's not probably going to work very well, just because the cell phone services are going to be overloaded with too many people on their phones at the same time. So if you have 2 radios, you can hand one to your wife, to one of your kiddos, to your buddy that went with you to a concert or whatever, and that gives you the ability to communicate with them easily. So this setup is pretty straightforward. So we'll start with the handout radio. The handout radio is pretty simple. I think this is a Retevis. Again, as you saw there, it was in the bag, and that battery was sitting just like that. So when I have a battery in there, in the battery with the radio, you'll see here I've got a piece of Velcro strap over here so that can't physically attach. There's no way for it to do that. So I have to pull this off to be able to attach the battery to the radio. So again, super bad. If you don't have an antenna attached to your radio and the battery attaches to it and it turns on transmit, you have an opportunity to burn out your radio, so don't do that. And then again, another Maximus antenna. Not quite as flexible on this one. I believe this is just one of the older models that we first started producing, with an OD green armor on it. And it's just a simple setup in a Ziploc bag. Nothing too crazy. You just stuff it in there. keeps it somewhat watertight. You know, the Ziploc bag isn't perfect, but you know, it's good enough. If you're out in the rain, it's not gonna mess anything up. And then the radio that I would have on me, I am looking for a little bit better solution for the other side of it. I'm just running a super cheap Bofang, the UV5R, and I'm actually gonna be switching over to the Quansheng Mini Kong that just came out. So that's actually, I've got to go grab that at the post office. But again, another small Maximus antenna. The reason I went with these ultra flexible versions was because I can stick this in a pouch in my jacket or in my shirt and loop the antenna back over my back. And at the short distances that I'll be transmitting on, this is super discreet and doesn't show off, doesn't scream like I'm a tactical cool guy, doesn't scream shoot me first. It just, nobody even notices that you have a way to communicate. I like these little Retevis earbuds. I'm not a big fan of the tactical, over the ear, super quasi discreet, I'm a security guy kind of earbud. They do make a black version that just looks like a standard phone earbud. That's pretty discreet. I like that, but I do like the fact that it has a volume adjustment on the push to talk, and your PTT, you just push it and you're ready to go. These work pretty well. So Retevis does a pretty good job. Hopefully I'm pronouncing the name right with that setup. So I'll have that set up. I've typically got another earbud in the bag for the handout one. Because at the end of the day, it looks pretty tactical to run around with a radio. But if you're just trying to maintain communications with your family or your crew or whatever, you know, you don't want to be the guy that's running around with your ham radio like, I'm super cool, breaker 19, you know, we don't need to like be super cool about it. It's just a way to communicate with your family. Keep it super simple, keep it discreet, and then you're not screaming shoot me first if there's an event like that, or, you know, the cops are wondering why there's a dude running around with a radio and they're wondering what you're doing, and then you're, you know, kind of out in the woods there. So that's it for the kit. Hopefully you guys appreciate this and kind of have an understanding of the LOT that we have into that, and looking forward to doing the next video for you guys. Take care.